Hi everyone, I'm Liam from Wayflyer, and I'm going to show you how you can use our free template to take control of your cash flow. We've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands of founders at this stage, and realised that planning your cash flow can be a tedious task. It's not necessarily something that gets a lot of you out of bed in the morning. Having said that, it's absolutely critical to stay on top of. And that's exactly why we've built this template, to help you plan your cash flow without having to commit to any expensive software, which might be overkill for this stage in your journey. So let's jump straight in. We've purposely kept the setup quite clean and simple to avoid having tons of different interlinked tabs. The first thing you want to do is to set your time frame. Enter the start month and the opening balance at that time. You notice that as you change the month here, the sheet adjusts accordingly. Let's say January for this stage, and let's say we start with 30k in the bank. Now, it's completely up to you whether you want to fill out the full 12 months here or 6 months. You recognise that the further you go into the future, the harder it can be to make accurate forecasts, but it's completely up to you how much you want to fill in. And what we'll do is work our way down the sheet, focusing on these light green cells, which are the input cells for the whole model. What we'll do is start with any cash injections that you expect to receive throughout the year. So the most common forms are cash raised in exchange for equity, debt taken on from traditional banks, or personal savings that you are investing in the business. What you should do is plan ahead and estimate when you expect to receive these throughout the year. Now we move on to revenue. Of course, this is not easy to predict in advance, but let's get some estimates in there. Take a look at your sales data from the last 2 years as a guide. Look for patterns that can help you predict demand. For example, spikes coming into Black Friday or any seasonal fluctuations that you typically have depending on what your product is. Make sure to account for growth ambitions too. You don't necessarily want to have the exact same number as last year. If you're a growing business, it should be on the increase. If you're an existing customer of ours or would like to just connect to our platform before you consider funding, we can actually help you pull together statements like this from the previous years, which will act as a guide for your forecast going forward. So we've put in a few revenue estimates here, as you can see, increasing coming into Black Friday for this example. Once we have an idea of what cash we're getting in throughout the year, we'll then turn to cash outflows. Again, not necessarily easy to know in advance, but what we've heard from founders so far is that this is a good forcing mechanism to sit down and think about these line items one by one. Looking at expenses relative to revenue is usually a good way to go as a guide. Inventory and marketing, obviously two big ones on a founder's mind. For inventory, you'll need to be able to meet the demand that you forecasted in the sales above, so lead times will be really important. How long in advance do you need to order? For garden furniture, it could be up to 6 months. If you're selling chocolate, it could be more like 6 weeks, but just knowing this is super important. There's an obvious cash flow challenge that comes up here. 1, will you have enough cash to order as much inventory as you like to meet these growth ambitions? And 2, it's such a big cash drain that you won't see again until you make a sale, so you'll need to plan for that. For marketing, you'll then need to be able to push money into Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever it may be, so you get the eyeballs on your product and actually make the sales. You'll need enough of a cash buffer in place to cover this. Then there are line items that shouldn't go unnoticed. Delivery costs, wages, taxes. Spend some time budgeting for these two through and going through them one by one. Then we start to see our output. What does your projected cash position look like throughout the year? Sometimes seeing it visually like this is much easier than trying to juggle numbers in your head throughout the year. In this particular example, we see a clear issue coming into Black Friday. The business simply doesn't have enough cash to meet their ambitions, with a deficit starting to appear in August and September. And that's when we move on to the bonus section of this sheet, where we look at whether revenue-based financing from a company like Wayflyer can unblock any cash constraints you might have. Now, this could be a great option for 3 reasons. 1, you don't want to risk putting more personal savings into the business to meet these cash flow needs. 2, traditional banks often won't go near you unless you have significant collateral on the line. And 3, you don't want to permanently give away equity to a venture capital company when you know that the cash raise is going to go straight into inventory and marketing to solve a temporary working capital issue. At Wayflyer, we give founders access to working capital without having to give up equity. Businesses that are partnered with us receive funding upfront, and then they'll pay back remittances as a percentage of daily sales. So you only pay back when you're actually getting cash in the door. Let's focus primarily on this section up here, as the rest of the numbers below will be pulled in from the previous forecast sheet that you made. You can play around with various scenarios. For example, let's say you want to take 100k from Wayflyer in August to try address this Black Friday issue. So you'll be getting it every August at a 6% fee and paying back 10% of daily sales to cover it. This is just an example. We can talk you through the various scenarios that could be applicable to your business. And then you look at how your cash flow would change. So what you'll notice is different in this sheet is we have additional line items for the money that you get in from Wayflyer and then the remittances that you'll pay us back. If we go down to the bottom, again, visually seeing these side by side, we'll be able to compare the two positions. So on the left-hand side, we have the initial forecast or plan you made with a clear deficit in August, September coming into Black Friday, and that's without any Wayflyer funding. And then on the right-hand side, we see the much improved picture because Wayflyer have come in and help you plug this cash flow gap. So you see August, September, you continue to maintain a buffer and your cash flow position looks a lot healthier as a result. Thank you for watching. Please send on any comments or feedback so we can make this template even better for the e-commerce community.